This is Dave Sugarbaker. Today is the 8th day of June 2025. My Camp Discovery has been going for 2 weeks already. Can't believe it. Today I have a reading from Psalm 27. And here's what it says. This is part of Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Of whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise up against me, yet I will be confident. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Do not give me up to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me, and they are breathing out violence. From the 23rd Psalm, we all remember the line, "Even in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me." And from John's letter in the New Testament, we have another memorable statement. Perfect love, and by definition, perfect love means God. Perfect love casts out fear. So last week I talked about love. This week I'm going to talk about fear. I was listening to the news early this last week when a young man who had worked for our current president in his first term talked about having criticized the president this time around. The criticism was picked up by the media, and the president heard about the criticism, and we've all learned that he's a little sensitive to criticism. The young man was added to the president's enemies list, and that meant that he lost his job. And he felt he was unlikely that he'd get another job, but luckily his wife was able to find work. When asked how he was doing, the man said, "Too many of us these days are afraid. I'd like to change that." So my question today is, how do we live without fear? Is that really possible? Some of us remember FDR saying, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Well, fear, as I've learned over the years, is not logical. We just feel it. It just kind of lands on us. There's no amount of talk, no amount of logical talk that will convince a fearful person that they shouldn't be afraid. Logical talk and feelings talk are two different animals. They don't mix well together. It's like apples and oranges. It would be as if one of the two people involved in this logical and feelings talk, if one of them spoke French and the other spoke German, and by talking louder they can understand each other better. Doesn't work that way. We can't talk anybody out of their fears or their worries. It does no good to tell someone, "Don't worry," or "Don't be afraid." What the fearful worrier hears is that you just don't understand how real and appropriate their fears are. They may try to convince you of the validity of their fears, or they might, on the other hand, just write you off as someone who couldn't and wouldn't understand anyway. FDR was onto something. If the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, it means that some of us are afraid about being afraid. We're uncomfortable with being out of our comfort zone and awash with feelings that we can't control. We're afraid of being out of control, as if, in fact, we control life in the first place. There's very little that I've found that I'm in control of in this world. Last week I said that most of our fears are fears of loss. We're afraid of losing our health, our life, our web of human relationships and associations. We fear losing our job because that leads to a whole cascade of other losses after you lose your job. We're afraid of losing the respect and the esteem of others. We're afraid, bottom line, about losing control. Buddha said, the whole secret of existence is to have no fear. His solution to the fear problem was to have no possessions, no secrets, no attachments, and then, since you have nothing to lose, you don't have to be afraid about losing anything. In the West, on the other hand, we have pretty complex lives, and there's a lot we can lose. Bill W., the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, said, only the self-deceived will claim perfect freedom from fear. So only if we're deluding ourselves can we turn around and claim, oh, I'm not afraid about anything. George Adair said, everything you have ever wanted is on the other side of fear. It appears that the only way to deal with fear is head on. As we used to say about grief at hospice, the only way out is through. And grief is another one of those difficult feelings, just like fear. We've just celebrated the anniversary of D-Day. The soldiers who landed on Normandy were afraid. It would have been inhuman not to be afraid. Of course they were afraid, but they kept moving forward toward their goal. The only way out of fear was straight ahead through it. Instead of pushing our fears down or denying them, pretending they're not there, maybe we have to lovingly allow them. Maybe even invite them to sit down for a cup of coffee with us. No matter how much we hate being afraid, our fears are a part of us. Perhaps by loving the part of us that is fearful and full of worries, we can live through our fears and find hope on the other side. Maybe the only way out is through. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote, we need to teach the next generation of children from day one that they are responsible for their lives. Humanity's greatest gift, and its greatest curse as well, is that we have free choice. We can make our choices, says Kubler-Ross, built from love or built from fear. Living in continual fear has serious health consequences. I think if I were to live constantly in fear, I would burn up from the inside. It seems to me if we make the majority of our choices based on our fear of loss, we will live pinched, brittle, obsessive lives. We get a choice. We can build our life on a foundation of love or fear. If we can get past our fears of loss and understand that we're all living with term limits, then it's no surprise anymore. We can't really be shocked by it. We have decided to accept it as a part of who we are as human beings. Father Teilhard de Chardin said, to love life so much and to trust it so completely that we can affirm it even in its final act. This is an attitude that can calm and fortify us. The end is to love extravagantly the life that is greater than any one of us, seeing our own death as a physically necessary passage toward union with a greater wholeness. If we can see ourselves as part of a greater life as a whole, one of the sheep of God's flock, and loved beyond what may be humanly possible, we may be able to move past our fear of loss and build our life on love. Now, God bless you, and thank you for taking some time to listen to this. If you find value in it, I'd appreciate it if you'd pass it along. In any case, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.